Alright, guys, so welcome again to the P Alpha Music Podcast. This is episode number 96 from the P Alpha Music Podcast. Make sure that you like and subscribe if you're listening to the podcast and YouTube, Rumble, and BitChute, all the platforms. You're listening to my podcast in the Anchor.fm or any other, uh, let's say, music or podcast distribution. You can just share the content, and we're gonna really appreciate it. Today's topic is gonna be one of those topics that everybody talk about, and it's gonna be how to stay positive when everything goes wrong. Okay, how to stay positive. And like I say, when we talk about these things, it's most of the time it's more easy than get it done, right? But it is rather complicated, and the reason it's rather complicated is because positive emotions are very hard to grasp than negative emotions. I'm sorry. If you go through your day, you're gonna notice that you're gonna have more negative experience, right? The positive experience. Now your job is to make sure that you can keep your composure, and more importantly, keeping your sanity. Okay. And let's talk about that a little bit. Let's talk about how to stay positive and um, when things go wrong, right? How to stay positive when everything goes wrong. Let's just say, like, when everything goes wrong, it's not that you're doing everything wrong, right? It's just that by coin, coin, uh, coincidence, I think is the word coincidence. I forgot how to say the word. Coincidence, one of those words. Um, it's coincidental. Coincidental. I think is the word I'm looking for. I just forgot to just pronounce the word. Let's say it's when the planets aligned all together, right? It happens to be that day everything went wrong. But is it that goes wrong in reality? Coincidence. Is that is that the word? Coincidence. I forgot how to say that word. I have to just figure out. It's kind of late, you know. It's 12, 18 in the morning here in Milwaukee, and just trying to just get myself together. I just, came from work, and it's important for me just to have these little blocks to just talk about things a little bit. So let's talk about that. Is it that everything goes wrong, or is it everything that is being planned and just happens to be that that's the result of things? So it's a good combination of both. It's not only one thing. It's it could be a huge pattern. So decisions that got made, and therefore the result that you got is that everything went wrong, or it happens to be that for luxuries of the world, but that day, but that time, everything went wrong. Um, there's a reason why these things happen, especially when you're working as an entrepreneur. And the reason is everything works like a cycle in a circle. Is that everything goes well, right? And then all of a sudden you have that storm that comes in, and then when that storm comes in, there's torn mill. I sound kind of weird right now. It's interesting. So there's a lot of inconsistencies and a lot of things that are unstable. Let's put it that way. And therefore, being everything unstable, it's very hard for you to grasp what is it that is going wrong. And instead of just thinking, "Am I the one being wrong?" have a different approach and say, "You know what? It's just a day. Today is just a day. One of those days that everything needs to be wrong." And there's a good way you can see this, right? The good way is that in order for you to really appreciate those good moments, you need to go through this, because those good moments gonna require your best mental, emotional stability. Now of course, you're not built in that regard. When that good moment comes in, it's gonna feel like the yesterday or 2 days ago. There's not gonna be any difference. So instead of just thinking like that, just go to the other side and say, you know what, it's good that I'm going through this, because that means that first there's gonna be problems, and problems are important for you to just grow, because that means that you're gonna look for solutions, and when you look for solutions, you grow. Okay, you're not the same person as yesterday. And secondly, right, you learn to be more appreciative. Appreciative, I think is the word. I don't know what the hell's going on with me. It's crazy. I cannot pronounce things correctly. So you are gonna appreciate more the good times when those good times comes. And the reason is, I think, is that life, it can be tough sometimes, and you don't get out of that grind, and all of a sudden you just thinking that you have all these bad days, one after the other. In reality, it's just that mindset has something to do with it. Okay, your day is as bad as you think it is. That your day is as bad as you just wake up. Your day is as bad as you just go to bed. Okay, so making sure that you change your perspective on how the situation can be reflected in your mental state. Okay, now when I say how to stay positive when everything goes wrong, it's not that you go to the kumbaya mode. Don't go to kumbaya mode. That's not helpful, right? Pretending that things are not going wrong is not healthy either, because that means you're creating a lie. No, be affirmative to the fact that yes, things are wrong, and this is going on is wrong. Now, you always want to make sure that you always choose the side of the different perspective. Things are wrong because of. Things are wrong because maybe. Things are wrong because I might be. Most of the time, it's not what you think. Most of the time, it's just a situation that happened, and then you need to just let it grow a little bit, and just have a different result. It's like saying like, oh, I just got kicked out on my job, but all of a sudden 3 more office. Oh, let's put it this way: you got kicked out on your job, and then all of a sudden, a couple weeks goes by, and you have 5 new job offers, much better with better pay, right? You will never be in that situation, and you'll probably say, you know what? Everything was go so wrong, and everything was be wrong. I was in that job for years. I don't know how to. I'm gonna pay with my family. All those things can go through your mind, but then all of a sudden you did not let it grow as much as it needed. So now you start making decisions based on your emotions in that instant. You start thinking like, oh, everything goes wrong. I need to start making decisions here, and all of a sudden those decisions has no rationale behind it. Now the reason is that you have to just let things grow a little bit, is because that way you can just see it with a more logistic perspective instead of an emotional perspective. We know emotions go up and down. We don't want to rely too much on making decisions when our emotions are up and down. It's not consistent, and also most of the time will not just lead you the better result. Okay, so let's say that you lose your dog, or you lose your house, right? You lose something, right? I'm not saying it's a situation, but we can just try to do our best. Maybe losing that dog is just a good example of how much you love him, how much you love your dog. And then instead of thinking like, he's dead, that's it, maybe think about, you know what, he's dead, he's in heaven, and now I can just give opportunity to another dog and give them my love as well, right? When you lose a house, you can say, you know what, maybe that house was not for me. Maybe that house was not intended. Maybe God has something better for me, okay? Not everything looks as bad, okay? And I tell you, because things can go bad on my side. I appear to be just, very clean in a lot of these areas, but in reality is, life does, hit me with a lot of curveballs. It's just that you just get used to just see the curveballs and hit it sometimes here and there. And it's good to have bad times. It's very good. You only grow when you are in uncomfortable positions. Okay? You don't grow when you're always in a comfortable position. And it's because you have to develop the mindset and the mental strength, right, to be a leader. Right? Leaders are recognized because they have a very strong mental state, and they can see through problems. They can see through stress. They can see through pressure. They can see a mission and a goal when they are put in those positions. I mean, who the hell don't want to be with someone like that, or don't want to be, related with someone like that? So you want to make sure that now when you go with things that are wrong, think it as, this is a situation for me to grow. Don't get over emotional. Don't get crazy. Don't start cursing. Don't start saying, God, why you are just doing this to me. No, don't do that. There's no reason for that. And also think, and this is kind of weird, you might think that you have it wrong, but there's people that have it worse. Not everything is wrong. Do you have a roof over your head? Yes. Do you have food? Yes. Do you have things that can just be, let's say, enough where you're not dying in the streets? Yes. Okay, not everything is wrong. It's all perspective. Do you make some decisions that just lead you to just these wrong things? Maybe that could be a reason. Or maybe, things are going wrong because people sometimes they wish bad on people, and based on those bad wishes, you're going through this. But does that mean that it's because you're doing wrong things? No. Everything will be fine by the next day or the next month. It's just a storm. It's a hurricane. It's passing by, and it's your turn. And it's not going to be the only one. Remember, these situations get up and down in a way where it's all part of the plan to make sure that you are really straightening that line. Remember the example that I always give. Life is like this, up and down, right? And you have to make sure that you're always fixing that up and down that makes it get stable into a straight line. It never will be a very complete straight line, but close enough where your worst look like your best. Yeah, it makes sense. Your worst days look like your best. Okay, it's just an internal conflict that you have, and you want to just fix that internal conflict. Okay. Make sure that also your identity is not conflicted or it's not attached to problems, right? Because having identities being attached to you when you have these problems, it can go worse. For the fact that you can go blind in being subjective, right? Blind in terms of you cannot see truth. You just want to see your truth and not the real truth. Okay. Our mental sanity can just push you into a way or area where admitting that some certain things are truthful it could be something very hard to grasp. So make sure that your identity as a person does not conflict with the reality, right? Now all of these things happening, everything just falling apart, it's your job, yeah, to keep it possible. It's important for you to keep it possible. Always look for different perspective of what the situation is happening. That's how you keep it positive. The only way you can create a positive situation in very bad situations is to make sure that you see a different perspective from what it is. Okay, you're the one to decide that, not anyone else. The world's falling apart. You're the only one that can just make sure that with a different perspective you can make sure that you have a positive attitude towards things. People start complaining a job, you say, you know what, I'm not complaining about a job because at least I have something I can just bring it home and just pay for my family. Be grateful. Everything goes wrong, you just look around, you say, you know, at least I have a car, I have food, I have a family. See, things are not that bad. Okay, it's all about perception. It's all about how you see things. Right? Being redundant here, but it's true. When everything is wrong, it's just a matter of just you choosing where to just put your energy and where to invest it. And the way to just see things very positive is to just always have a different perspective from the situation itself. Always choose the side of a different perspective when things are wrong. Okay? This one's a little bit. I love this topic. Um, something about tough times. I always like to just get my 2 cents, and it's always just to give my experience when it comes to this topic. I want to just give my personal opinion. This was the P Alpha Music Podcast, episode number 96. This is your host, Pablo Ruiz Vargas. You're listening to the podcast and YouTube, Rumble, or should just make sure that you subscribe and like. And if you're listening to the podcast and Anchor.fm, make sure that you just share with your family. And even if you're listening to the podcast in the different music distribution or podcast distribution channels, do us as well, because that's going to help my channel grow. And most importantly, the message to just be spread.